What's more important, clarity or consistency? Simple question, but the answer for you will change everything. On one hand, if you are consistent every day, persistently pursuing something that is not true to you, then where do you end up? Nowhere that you actually want to be. And yet, on the other hand, if you are constantly trying to perfect the thing that you think you need to be doing, and you meditate for hours every single day, and you procrastinate, but you are doing it in a way that you justify to yourself that it makes sense because you have to get this thing just right before you get going. Where do you end up? Nowhere. So is it one or the other? I don't know. I think that there's a middle way, which is that you have to be able to know yourself. You have to be able to know where you're at. You have to be able to know what's being called for. And that's how you know which one is relevant. Because you see, it's relevance for this moment that determines which one is relatively more significant. Because in different times in my life, different options have had more significance. There was a time where I knew exactly what I wanted to do. For example, with YouTube, I knew that I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I knew that I wanted to start making videos. I knew that I wanted to share my messages and connect with others and grow a community. And yet I was holding myself back because I was afraid of just getting started. I was afraid of putting myself out there. I was afraid of being seen as a fool or as this, I don't know, someone who didn't have anything valuable to offer. And so I held myself back from getting going. And months and years even went by where I looked back on that time thinking I could have gotten started a lot sooner. And of course, everything in the perfect timing, but all the while I was just holding back on my own joy, on my own fulfillment, on my own passion. And that's the thing that hurt the most. And so that consistency was missing because I was just afraid to get going. I was afraid of these seeming consequences, of risking my face in a way that was actually just out of my own fear and insecurity. And at other times, years ago, when I was pursuing entrepreneurial endeavors and seeking more money and more success, I was working towards a goal that was not true to me. I was consistent in a direction that was not authentic because I lacked clarity. I was operating under someone else's vision. I was striving towards someone else's goal. I was living someone else's life. And so at that time, clarity through self-knowledge was key. But you see, two different times, two different versions of me, and therefore two different callings. And so the most important thing is to know yourself, know where you're at. And in knowing yourself, you can accept yourself. You can accept where you're at. And only then can you really be receptive to what's being called for. Because otherwise, you're going to be sort of probably forcing yourself into something that's not true. And I started this YouTube channel a little over a year ago, and many of you already know this. But it was a combination of the two that really kicked it off. Because as I said, I'd spent months articulating a lot of the things that I learned at 6 months at a monastery and over 10 years starting successful businesses. And then my travels and everything that was coming together in my own unique perspective in the model of the I am alignment methodology that I'd crafted. And after months of distilling this and putting it all together in a comprehensive methodology that I had lived for years and that I stood behind with the results that I'd manifested and the businesses that I had success with and the money that I had created and all these things in my life, the experiences, the relationships, the revelations and realizations that I'd broken through into that led me to the point of knowing myself truly, deeply, totally, that was then the obstacle through my perfectionism, through my insecurity of thinking that I needed to get it all right off the bat. I needed to have everything laid out and everything perfectly lined up in order to get my message across. And then it was the actual consistent devotion and persistent pursuit of the passion that was within me that I was holding myself back from just getting going, thinking that if one more thing could just fall into place, then I would finally be ready. But you see, it was the combination of both, the clarity and the commitment to being consistent, that finally pushed me over the edge to start this YouTube channel. And it began with a very simple intention. Firstly, that I was going to commit to 30 days, one video a day. And I was going to get over myself. I was going to get out beyond my insecurities, my self-doubts, that imposter within me that was just waiting for one more confirmation that I was ready. And it was the intention to open a window into my mind, open a doorway into my consciousness so that I could connect with people in a deeply meaningful way, in an authentic way, in a way that was true to me. And I wanted to do this easily and effortlessly, not in a way that I had to have all these fancy things and editing and all this post-production and all this fancy equipment. I just wanted to be able to click record, share myself for a few minutes, and post it online. And I wanted that to be true, authentic, and real, because I wanted to convey myself as I am. And a little over a year later, here I am, almost 22,000 subscribers. I've connected with so many beautiful beings from all over the world. I've worked with hundreds of individuals at this point. I've grown a business which is now self-sustaining, which is so deeply fulfilling. I am doing the work that I am literally born to do, and I know that without a shadow of a doubt. And I couldn't be happier with where I am right now. But you see, the question of clarity versus consistency plagued me for so long. And I realized that there's not really a true answer. I mean, you look into YouTube or into the entrepreneurial space or into the spiritual space, you'll get a different answer, right? People will meditate for years and say it's all about clarity. Or people will go into business and say, well, if you just show up every single day, then you'll get to where you want to be. But I found that it's not as simple as just listening to those people. You must first find that innermost self and attune yourself to who you truly are. And in that relationship with yourself, with who you truly are, the answers come to you through intuition, through inspiration, and you get attuned to where you're at. And it's only then that you have the real answers that come from within. And that's what you can trust. And that's what this is all really about. It's actually about building self-trust, because the world has conditioned us to not believe in ourselves, not trust in ourselves, not listen to that inner impulse, that inner guidance, which is leading you to who you really are as an expression of that true self and everything that's meant for you. And so in all of this, there is that self-knowledge and self-acceptance. And in that, there is a deep, profound confidence and conviction in yourself, which then allows you to step forward with that unshakable, unfuckwithable attitude, which is natural. It is so inherent to who you are that you can't really acquire it. You can't really prove yourself in it. You just uncover it. But you first really have to know yourself and ask these questions. What is being called for me right now with where I'm at? Is it a moment of clarity? Or is it a commitment for consistency? And I think you'll find that it's a combination of both. And this is why I created my I Am Alignment, my free masterclass, which is uncovering all of this. It's walking you through all of this, and it's reverse engineering all of this into a game plan which you can implement on a daily basis. And if you want to have access to this, just comment I am down below, and I'll send you a link where you can go through it today. And it has videos and meditations and visualizations and worksheets so that you can actually go through it and write down where you're at and discover where you want to go and find out what's the gap so that you can reverse engineer it and implement it as daily habits, as practices, as a daily routine which will shift you into that reality. So if you want to have access to this, just comment I am down below and I'll send you a link where you can access it for free.